Your brain is not broken. It is the first one in history to be wired by an algorithm, and that is exactly why your anxiety feels like a high-speed survival filter rather than a defect. You are 22 years old and you are tired. You are not just "I stayed too late" tired. You are bone deep, soul level exhausted. They call you fragile. They call you a snowflake. They call you overly sensitive and addicted to your phones. But today, we are going deeper into the forces that actually shaped your mind. They say you are the most connected generation in history, but they never stop to ask why you feel so incredibly alone. The truth is simple. The world changed faster than the human brain was ever designed to handle, and your psychology did not break it, adapt it. You did not grow up with an internal compass built in a quiet neighborhood or a local park. You grew up with a fire hose of global catastrophe pointed directly at your developing brain. Think about what that actually does to a child. You were sitting at the kitchen table with an iPad at 8 years old, watching a school shooting, then a terrorist attack, then a documentary telling you the world is ending. This created something unprecedented in human history: anticipatory grief. You were mourning a future you had not even experienced yet. This is not just anxiety. It is chronic awareness. It is mental alertness without a pause button. And it means you are carrying the weight of the entire planet before you are even old enough to vote. While your brain was trying to process the end of the world, it was also being rewired by the glowing rectangle in your pocket. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to wire itself around the environment it lives in. Your environment was an algorithm engineered by the smartest people on Earth to be addictive. Every notification is a dopamine hit, and every scroll is a gamble. Your nervous system was trained to expect constant stimulation, the way previous generations expected daylight. This led to a state of continuous partial attention, where your mind never fully rests and your stress hormones are quietly rising in the background 24/7. You are not distracted. You are neurologically exhausted. But let's talk about the real reason you are frustrated: the broken social contract. Previous generations were promised that if they worked hard and stayed loyal, they would get a house, a career, and a future. But you watched that map fail in real time. You saw the 2008 crash. You saw tuition costs triple while wages stood still. And you saw families lose everything while the people at the top got bonuses. You did the math on housing prices and realized the American dream now requires a miracle. When the system stops responding to effort, your mind shifts from an internal locus of control to an external one. You start to feel like invisible forces, not your own character, decide your future. Older generations call this laziness, but psychology calls it learned helplessness. It is a rational response to a game with terrible odds. Then there's the death of the third space. For decades, there were places to exist that were not home or work: malls, parks, and community centers where you could just be. Those spaces are vanishing, replaced by digital platforms where your life is no longer just lived, it is produced. Every hobby is now a personal brand. Every vacation is content creation. You are simultaneously hyper-visible and deeply unseen because you are performing a character or a highlight reel that hides everything real. You can have 10,000 followers and still feel completely alone because digital connection has quantity, but it lacks weight. You are meeting your edited reflection in the mirror every day, leading to filter dysmorphia, where your real, unfiltered body feels like the imposter. This brings us to the Kafka trap. Think about Gregor Samsa, the man who woke up as a giant bug. His first thought was not help. I am a cockroach. It was, how will I get to work like this? This is the psychological reality of your generation. You have been trained to tie your entire self-worth to your productivity. You feel a crushing guilt for sitting still because you have been told your value is tied to your utility in a bureaucratic system. You are terrified of being average because you have watched 17-year-olds become millionaires on your feed, and if you are not exceptional, you feel invisible. You want meaning, but you are drowning in a sea of comparison, measuring your behind-the-scenes footage against everyone else's polished highlight reel. But here is the motivational truth that changes everything. Your discomfort is not a weakness, it is a warning. You are not fragile. You are the most emotionally intelligent generation in human history. You talk openly about therapy, about mental health, and about boundaries. You have normalized conversations that previous generations buried under shame. You have the courage to say this is not working out loud when everyone else is content to stay silent. You are choosing a different path. By refusing to accept a life measured only in output, you are not destroying the old world. You are testing it for cracks, so we can build something better. We need to move past the idea that it is just the world's fault. That leaves you as a sensor of change without any agency. You need to transition from learned helplessness back to an internal locus of control. You can't wait for the world to stop being unstable before you decide to be okay. It is time for a counter-narrative of radical presence. Instead of disconnecting, which is impossible, we practice the digital monk strategy. This is about using your high emotional intelligence to build micro-communities that function like the third spaces we've lost. It is about seeking connection in places that don't require money or performance. True resilience is not a clenched jaw or sucking it up until you break. Resilience is the courage to choose rest over performance. It is reclaiming your internal locus of control by building connections that actually matter. It is practicing radical digital hygiene and protecting your sleep from the blue light dopamine loops. You are currently writing a new social contract, one that measures success by the shape of a life outside the office, by a calm nervous system, and by honest friendships that do not require a Wi-Fi connection. You were never meant to carry the weight of every global crisis simultaneously, but you are carrying it anyway, and that makes you stronger than any generation that came before you. You are the sensors of change. You see people, not stereotypes. You question systems that previous generations accepted without thought. You demand better because you've seen what the old way produces: inequality, environmental collapse, and cycles of trauma that nobody bothered to break. You're more politically engaged than any generation before you. You organize. You hold institutions accountable. You refuse to accept injustice just because it's always existed. Stop judging yourself by the rules of a game that was rigged before you were even born. The future does not belong to the most productive or the most famous. It belongs to the ones who are brave enough to be human in a century that forgot the instructions. Your sensitivity is not softness. It is the echo of rooms where too much went unsaid, and you are finally finding the words. You are building a public language for private storms, refusing to treat suffering as a personal failure. And whether older generations agree or not, the stigma is already losing. If you measure strength by how much someone can endure in silence, you will always look fragile. But you have changed the ruler. For you, resilience is the courage to say, I am not okay. It is choosing therapy over pretending and boundaries over applause. This generation builds families out of choice rather than blood, group chats that feel warmer than living rooms, online communities that notice when someone disappears. You are not broken. You are calibrated for a world that has not caught up to you yet. Take a breath. Put down the phone. Your brain is not a machine to be optimized. It is a landscape to be explored. You are not a profile to be swiped. You are a person with depth and complexity. Start building the life you actually want to live, not the one you've been told to perform. The world is waiting for your honesty, not your highlight reel. You are the sensors of change, and the change starts when you decide that you are enough, exactly as you are, without a filter and without a deadline. This is your life. Reclaim it. If this hit home for you, please subscribe.